Hey guys, welcome to another positional chess video. Today we're gonna go through Magnus Carlsen versus Wesley So game 1. So it's a first game in the finals. I'm gonna use Stockfish 11 from Chess.com and we will go through the game and see if computer can spot some mistakes. Obviously mistakes were made in the game, so let's get in it. So standard start by Magnus, pushing his queen pawns. So Wesley So starts with a quite passive approach, and also note that Wesley needs a draw because he's lower rated and also playing black. Okay, so far nothing interesting happens, a lot of trades. Interesting that Magnus brings out the queen early on, that was also mentioned by the game commentators. So pawn push, and queens get traded off, so black cannot castle anymore. Alright, so Stockfish wants to take the bishop and now changes the mind, develop bishop as well. So obviously Magnus took, doubling the pawns. That's pretty cool. So attacking the big pawns, king defends, castles, develops knight, so bishop out, rook out, and a couple options for this bishop. I was rooting for bishop b3 as well, that was played in the game, and I actually thought about this move for a while and I didn't understand why Wesley wasn't going for it, because right now pushing g pawn just won't work since there is this nasty pin to the rook. Well, could unpin, but that's all tricky, but as you will see later on in the game, so this bishop will be gone. Obviously have to take the knight because we need to save light square bishop. It's much more powerful than dark square bishop, so some trades happen on board, and now rook adds pressure to the pawn, so only one defender, and we can get the pawn now. So does Magnus take it? A lot of trades, and now we can do that bishop move, so getting other rook in the game. We have some pressure over here, so yeah, well, obviously, okay, the best move is to push, and it was played. And I really hoped Magnus will play f4, and he actually did, so I was happy that I managed to spot the move. Some developing moves. Magnus doubles the rooks on that e pawn, so everything about e pawn now. Alright, so some counterplay, takes, attacks, pushes. Okay, now the bishop as well covers the pawn, so that's very scary pawn. So now we can see it's a draw. Stockfish says it, but obviously it's a draw if it's a perfect play. So yeah, I really liked that attack to the rook. Also preparing to kind of move up the board. So rook back, was rooting for this move, but obviously nobody likes it since it's super passive. And yeah, couple active moves as well. So Wesley trying to do some counterplay on queen side. Magnus attacks Wesley's bishop, so bishop has to move. Not a lot of options. So yeah, I think, well, computer likes a3, but Wesley plays c3. So Magnus attacks again. Wesley moves again, and Magnus doubles the rooks now, preparing to check, takes, and check again. So if king takes, we can move in. Oh, okay, so sorry guys, king cannot take, so check, takes, and actually pawn could also take, and then rook or king has to block, so it's tricky. Yeah, or else check, takes, check again, and if king sidesteps, we can gobble some pawns as well. Okay, moving on. Wesley starts with his counterplay, preparing to hit the bishop. Not a lot of options for bishop. Magnus just don't care. And some trades. So Wesley played the best move. And in this stage of the position, there's not a lot of options for for Wesley, because he has to choose the best move almost every move. But a lot of options for Magnus are good. So over here, rook to b7. Trying to take the pawn, so a lot of oh, it's actually cool if you takes and just get this guy. and prepare to gobble up that guy as well, but you lose your strong pawn. So Magnus wasn't ready for that, so sacrifice at g5. That's crazy, and the only good move is to take. All other moves simply loses. So Magnus takes back with a check, king has to move, okay, rook blocks, and now Stockfish just goes crazy, plus 9.6. This is a big blunder by Wesley So, and let's see how. So Magnus takes the bishop, Wesley takes the bishop, and Magnus simply pushes the pawn. So Wesley also is going for the queen. Both players get queens, but Magnus is first with a check. So king has to move, and rook to h4 is really good move. So Wesley blocks with the rook, and here it's just straightforward, the checkmating pattern. So check, queen blocks, and at this point not a lot black can do. A couple more checks, and this one's the final before Wesley resigns. So now rook takes rook, and Stockfish says best move obviously is king g6, but if king g6 I can just place them on board, so queen will be lost anyways. So let's put some moves back. So takes, and it's a good game. Mate in 4, computer shows. So that's how one of my